Everyone, I hope you're doing good today, and I hope you're having a lot of fun at OffKai Expo. I bet it's a lot of fun getting to see all the VTuber panels. But hi, my name is Ava Lamp, and today I'm going to be talking about the many forms of VTuber models. Here's a couple places that you can find me, specifically on Twitter, Twitch, and on YouTube. I'm Ava Lamp. I am a sentient lava lamp. There's all different types of VTubers. There's not just one type. It's not just people or cats or anything like that. You can be anything, even a lava lamp. So I'm going to go over 3 basic types of VTuber models, from PNG, 3D, to live 2D. So I've done all 3 types of models, which is one of the reasons I feel comfortable talking about these different types. So I started out as a PNG model myself, moved on to 3D, and currently use live 2D as my main form of VTubing. I sometimes use my other models as well, but I mainly stick to live 2D. The very basics for any type of model are you're going to need a PC and a microphone. For PNG, this is all you need. You can use a laptop, you can use any type of microphone, even the type from headsets. I'd suggest getting a decent microphone, but when you're just starting out, there's nothing wrong with using a headset microphone. PNG VTubing is probably the cheapest way of VTubing that I can think of, other than some types of 3D model VTubing. So some of the programs that you use for PNGs are Reactive by Fugitech, PNG2B, and Vtube Mini. These are all different, with Fugitech, which is, you can see the dark gray square here. It is used through Discord, so it uses Discord vocals to be able to do a on and off type of image. This is most commonly used for collabs when you're not using OBS Ninja. So this is the way I did PNG tubing when I was a PNG tuber, but there's other methods as well. And this doesn't even cover all of them. These are the ones that I'm familiar with and that I've seen before. PNG2B uses the same type of on and off that Fugitech uses. However, this one is specifically from your computer. You do not need to use a browser source for it. You don't have to use Discord. It's using the audio from your computer. I haven't personally used this, but it is available. All of these are free to use programs. You can tip the creators, but you can get all of these for free. The last one that I know of is Vtube Mini. This is a more newer one, and it's a more popular one because you don't just have an open and closed mouth or like a light up and turn off icon. You can add different expressions, you can add blinking, you can even add GIFs. So some of you may be familiar with this deer here in the bottom corner. This is like their mascot, I guess. But it'll you can have it shake, you can have it move side to side, you can have it bob up and down like a regular PNG. You can do so much with it. I've seen a lot of people use this to make it really immersive and really interesting PNG models. Things that you can even think could be done with PNGs, you can do it. You can have different backgrounds, you can change colors, you can do a whole lot with a PNG. I know a lot of people think that PNGs is not a part of VTubing. In my opinion, it is. And as someone who started as a PNG tuber, I think it's a very important place. It is the cheapest way to be a VTuber, and it is the probably easiest way because you do not need to know a lot about technology, and it's very easy to start. Oh, and I forgot to say, I will be taking questions at the very end. I have a question section, so if you have any questions, I can either see through Discord for OffKai Expo, or I also can look and hear you. So I'll be taking questions at the end. So like I said, PNG models are low cost, they're simple, and they're easy to use. Here are some of the ones that I've used. I also have a couple other ones because sometimes it's fun to have variety. Pretty much it's a open mouth and a closed mouth, or in the case of the bottom left, it is a squishy eyeball. But you can do a whole lot with them. The reason that these are so low cost is because it's literally just one drawing that may have an open mouth. So like the one to my left here, it's literally the same, but just with an open mouth. So it's pretty easy and pretty cheap to get. And if you're an artist, it's very easy to make one yourself. You could even have a stick figure. Any type of icon that represents you can be a VTuber. And like I said before, you can be anything. I'm not the only lamp that I've met. There are 2 other lamp VTubers that I know of, Lampert and Lumen. So it's not uncommon to have things that may not be seen as a typical like anime girl become a VTuber. And anyone can be a VTuber. Now moving on to 3D models. The equipment needs for 3D models are a little bit more intensive depending on exactly what you want to do with it. So like with PNG tubing, you need a PC and you need a webcam. You may need a bit more graphically intense PC for 3D models depending on what you're doing with it. So a graphics card and CPU is pretty necessary when doing VTubing just because of the strain it puts onto your computer. Depending on the type of model you have, you can use a webcam or an iPhone. For the iPhone, you need an iPhone 10 or newer because it has the Apple AR kit tracking, so you can have a lot of facial movements within it. I personally use an iPhone for my 3D model just because it makes it easier. And if you give me one moment, there we go. Here's my 3D model. So it looks a lot different than my 2D model, but it's fun to have a little bit of variety, which is one of the reasons I have this. This is actually an updated model for me, so it's not the one I started with, but it's still nice, and it's currently being worked on still. But as you can see, you can have a whole lot more mouth movement with the AR kit tracking. You can have a lot more head movement. So there's pros and cons to every type of model. With a 3D model, you get a bit more movement, a bit more liveliness, and you can have a lot of mouth movements. Whereas with a live 2D, if you don't rig it that way or you don't have the right mouth shapes for it, it can be really hard to have. Like I was saying, you need an iPhone 10 or newer. I believe mine's an iPhone 10. You can also, I don't currently have one because mine broke, but there's a thing called Elite Motion, which is a type of movement tracker that can track your hands. There are also programs that do it with the webcam. I have not personally tried these, so I'm not sure how good or how bad they are. But I have used Elite Motion in the past, and it does work relatively well. There are more advanced Elite Motions that have like multiple cameras and all types of fancy stuff that I don't understand. But it helps, make it more immersive for you. You could also use a VR headset, body trackers, base stations. All of these are utilized if you're doing like VR streaming. So if you're wanting to do VR chat, if you're wanting to have like a 3D model that does dancing, you can do all types of different things with V2D. It doesn't just have to be video games. I think it's really interesting what different things you can do with it. But if you're wanting full body tracking, that can get very expensive. There's a couple different types of trackers out there, including the Vive trackers, which are, I guess, the most standard of them. There's newer ones, including Slime and Tundra trackers, but both of them are pretty relatively new and they're hard to get a hold of because they were like backed on Kickstarter, so they haven't like begun their full production runs yet. But that is something you can think of if you have a 3D model and something you want to do. Base stations are needed just to see the trackers. So it's not just the trackers you need like extra things outside that, like the base stations to see them. You also need a computer that can handle VR tracking and VR games. So that's something else to put into consideration if you're wanting to go down that route. But 3D models don't have to be that complicated. This one I have as a VRM file, which I can use on the PC regularly, or I also have it so I can upload it onto VRChat to use within 3D programs and use it for like Beat Saber and things like that. I also suggest getting a ring light. It doesn't have to be a really fancy one. The only reason I suggest this is so you can have more light on your face and you can get better facial tracking. Because you want it to be able to see you do all the things. And if you don't have enough light on your face, your camera or webcam may not be picking up all the movements you're making. So a webcam wouldn't be able to pick up as many like movements and, pretty much movements and like tiny little details of your face like the Apple AR kit would do. But both are fine examples and things you can do with 3D models. There isn't one that's better than the other, just kind of what you prefer. And so some of the programs you can use for 3D modeling, or 3D models, Luppet, which I have not personally used, I believe there's a fee behind Luppet. I'm not exactly sure how much that is because I have not personally used it, but it is a name that I am familiar with. There's also VC Face, which is what I'm currently using. VC Face is a free program. Again, you can donate to the creators if you so choose to, but is a free to download program that's constantly being updated. I use this along with an app called Wideo on the iPhone, which utilizes the Apple AR Kit to be able to have the 3D tracking. There's a couple other programs that'll do this as well. Wideo is a free one, and it was the one that was suggested to me by my 3D model rigger. So I will take the suggestions of my riggers because they're rigging to a specific program. So this is the program they use to test it out. So it's a program I know will work and that can be utilized. So there's different ways you can do it. You can go the free route, you can go paid routes. It's kind of whatever you want. There's another tracking one that I use for my live 2D, which is called iFacial mocap, I believe. Sorry, I just got it recently. I'll talk about it a little more later, but I believe that could also be used with VC Face. It's just not what I utilized originally, so I still use Wideo just because I'm personally familiar with it. It's really easy. All you have to do is you download it onto your phone, and then you connect your phone to your PC using your Wi-Fi. So it's really easy to connect the two programs. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm not the best with technology, so trust me, it's really easy. Now when it comes to 3D models, there's a couple different varieties. There's Vroid, Blender, and then other types of customized models. So the model I'm currently using technically uses Vroid as a base and then has customizations on top of that. So within the Vroid Studio program, you can do a whole lot within it. But for me, I just wanted something that looked a bit more like me, that was nice and gloopy, could make me look like a lava lamp. But Vroid Studio is a free-to-use program. This is why I said 3D models can also be relatively cheap. You can make your own model very easily in the program. I've made models in it. I'm not the best at it, but there's like some preset like hairstyles and eyes and clothing, so you can do some very basic things in it. So it can be like a starting point, because I suggest getting started at a cheaper entry point to be able to see how you like VTubing, if you want to continue doing VTubing, rather than putting a big financial strain on yourself just getting started. But Vroid Studio is great. It's a free program. Anyone can download off of Steam. You can also pay people as a commission to get a Vroid model or a customized model. So mine, like I said, is a Vroid that was further customized. But you can even go as far as to have a fully customized 3D model, which these can run in the thousands of dollars. So it's a sliding scale. You can go anywhere on this scale. It could be from free to thousands of dollars. It's really what you want to do, and again, I highly suggest starting as like a PNG or a Vroid to see how you like VTubing. I will say, however, for Vroid, it does not come with the AR kit as a base. So all the extra motions you see my face being able to do, all of that, that's part of the Apple AR kit. So a Vroid will have much simpler movements. It'd be more like just an up and down. There are some preset emotions within it, so that you can have like happy and sad and some other things, but you're not gonna be super expressive. Yes, you'll be able to talk, yes, you'll be able to blink, but it just may not be as extensive as what I currently have. So that's something you need to think of going into it. A lot of people, when they do the customized models, the AR kit is a part of it, or it could be an add-on on top. So that's another thing you have to think about. 3D models can get very expensive, but it's really what you want to do with it. Plus, it's if you want to use it for streaming or VR. So one thing that a lot of my friends have learned, and I learned too, is just because you have a 3D model does not mean that it's compatible with VR chat. So I had to have my model made, and then I also had to have it made compatible to upload into VR chat, so I could use it for VR chat streams and to go to parties and things like that. So that's another thing you have to think of. You have to find someone who may be willing to change the type of file it is and upload it into the program to upload it into VR chat. There's a lot of steps behind it, and it might not be for everyone. But it can be a lot of fun, because getting to be able to be yourself in VR chat feels a lot different. I personally have a index, so I have full body tracking. It's very minimal full body tracking, because I only have 3 trackers. There are people who have 9 and 10 point articulation who can do like all the dancing and all of that. But like I said, it can get really expensive depending on how many trackers you have. So if you want to do VR chat, you can, but it may not be something you want to jump into right away, just because of how expensive everything can get. Now, moving back over to Live 2D, if you give me a moment, I'll switch right back. There we go. So I personally have both programs currently running so that I can have my Live 2D and my 3D model ready to go. This is not something I'd suggest for a regular stream, just because it can be pretty CPU intensive on your computer. Any type of VTubing takes a lot of computer usage, so that's something you definitely need to think about with your equipment. So with Live 2D equipment, you need a PC. Again, you need a very strong graphics card, and you need RAM, a lot of it, because it'll eat it up. So when you're streaming, you have to have a program like OBS or Streamlabs OBS open to stream your content onto the platform of your choice. You have to have your program for your model running. So in my case, I'm using VTube Studio. You can have other additional programs running to have additional like extras, like VTS, which can add like on and off, turn on toggles for you, and then also VBridger, which I'll talk about a little more in a moment. But it's just a lot going on. So imagine your computer having to do all that and then play a game on top of it. It can just be a lot of strain on your computer. So that's why I suggest you have a pretty decent computer to be able to VTube. There are people who do it off of laptops, but it can impact the quality of your streams and the quality of your tracking and things like that, because your computer can only handle so much of a load. So I definitely look into having a decent computer. If you're planning on doing just chatting streams or something that does not include using a game as well, it's a lot easier on your computer. Just starting out doing just chatting streams may be the best for you if you have a lower end computer, just to be able to help you and help your computer and its lifespan. So with my Live 2D, you can use a webcam. There are programs that let you utilize a webcam. However, like with the 3D model, you want to be able to have that Apple AR kit. If you don't have it, you're not going to have as much motion tracked and as much movement tracked, because it does not capture your face. There is a version of this for Android. I am not sure of the name of it. It is relatively new, and I'm not sure if all of the VTubing programs work with it or not. Pretty much an iPhone is considered the standard for this type of thing, just because it works well and it's very easy to use and get your hands on. Yes, it is expensive, but if you want to have proper tracking, it may be something that you need. I personally had an old one, so I was able to utilize that. And like I said, it's an iPhone 10. But all of the newer iPhones also have it, so if you have an iPhone, you can just use that. You may not be able to call while you're using it for streaming, but you can use it to capture your facial movements. Again, I suggest using a ring light because it helps capture your face. If you turn, so I personally have a Razer ring light, just because it's nice and bright. It has a couple different settings. It came with a tripod. It's just overall very versatile for me and for the type of streams I do. It also puts a lot of light onto my face so that my camera can capture it well. Being able to capture all the movements, be moving around, is very important. Now the programs for Live 2D, there are quite a few programs out there. The first one I heard about when I started VTubing over a year ago was FaceRig. However, it is not really utilized a whole lot anymore, at least for VTubers. I would say that the base program, like I guess an industry standard, would be VTube Studio. There are other programs like Puri Live, which I have tried, but I did not like the way it functioned as well as VTube Studio, just because VTube Studio is very easy. It makes sense, and it's very, I like the UI of it a lot. It does cost money, so to be able to have this on your computer and on your phone, you have to buy it separately. I believe it's like $10 to $15. It's been a while since I purchased it, so I'm not 100% sure exactly how much it is. But it is the program that runs your VTuber. It is the program that helps you move. And you need it for both your face and for your computer. I mean, your phone and your computer. So I mentioned this program earlier called VBridger. It's a relatively new program, like within the last month or so it came out. Pretty much this program enhances what VTube Studio already does. So this works with iFacial mocap or other facial tracking softwares. So you link it to your phone and then you link it to VTube Studio. I currently am not using it just because I already had the 3D model set up and I didn't want to put too much strain onto my computer. But this program helps things run smooth as butter. Like, I could tell a very distinct difference between when I was using VBridger and when I was not using VBridger. VBridger does, I believe VBridger is also like $10 to $20, and then iFacial mocap I think was like $5 to $10. I'm not 100% sure on the prices. I kind of just bought them and I'm like, this is good, this is an investment. And I enjoy it. I will use VBridger when I'm doing a just chatting stream by myself because it's not too intensive, there's nothing else going on in the background, and it just gives really buttery, smooth, like transitions for your VTuber model. It looks very nice. Like, I can tell a difference even with the base settings. There are more advanced settings within it that you could pay someone to rig your model within VBridger just to have a little extra like movement and smoothness. But because it's so relatively new, a lot of riggers are not familiar with it. For example, I asked my rigger about it and they said that just because it's so new and so complicated that they probably wouldn't be using it anytime soon. But it is nice to have just as a little extra, and even the base settings work very well in my opinion. Like I said, these aren't all the programs that VTubers use. These are just some of the ones that I'm familiar with and the most common ones that are utilized. Okay, so within Live 2D, and I guess within 3D as well, there's pre-made models, customizable models, and custom models. So these are some subsets within just models in general. I have some that fall within each of these categories, so I'm going to talk about and show you some of mine. So customizable models. So these models can be purchased on like Booth or Patreon, and they have a base model. So let me switch over to one right now. Oh, I'm a little short, sorry about that. That's one of the bad things about switching between models. You don't know exactly how big you are or are not going to be. So this one is a model made by Ginny. A lot of people refer to it as the Ginny model. It is a like One-sama style model. This is not what the base looks like. The base was a lot different, but it came with a lot of different options. Different arm poses, blushes, face shadow. All of these expressions would be extra for a VTuber model. This one came with a lot of them. You could change bangs on the fly, add a jacket. So even within the model itself, it was very customizable, but it allowed like specialized customization. So for me, I had a friend, Lady Rose Noire. She did edits for me to make the model look more like me, I guess in a human form. So it just kind of made it a little bit different instead of just the basic one. So this is a great way to do Live 2D on the cheap. So this model right here, I believe was only $30 on Booth, which is very cheap for a Live 2D model, especially one that's this well rigged and has so many different options. Another example would be, let's see where it puts me. This model. So this model is by KBX Arts. It is also a customizable model. A lot of the customizations for this one can be done within the VTube Studio program itself, which makes it a lot easier for people. Some of you may recognize that this looks a lot like Marin from My Dress Up Darling. That is what it was originally based on. I changed some of the hair colors, the eye color, and added some extra details just to make it look a little bit more like me. But again, this is a great idea. You have a really advanced model that has a bunch of movement, it has a bunch of options that you wouldn't be able to get possibly on your own. So for this, I am subscribed to KBX Arts Patreon, and I'm a level 3, which I believe is like $7 a month. which is not that much, especially when you see that like you get all these emotions. You can do so much. You can stack them. It's just you get a whole lot when you didn't have anything to start with. So for $7, I pretty much got the download for this and have been able to play around and edit it for myself. He also edited this recently into a Tifa themed model, which is here, which I again edited to have my hair color and my eyes with hard eyes. So this one, editing is a little bit more difficult. So you can edit the hair and eye color within the program itself, but I edited it outside the program just to have a little more control and add like my hard eyes and everything. But you can edit pretty much anything about a model if you have something like Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint, Krita, something like that, so that you can just edit the colors or even draw on top of the original PSD. You can do this with any model, but just because these are customizable models, you have a lot more options for a low price. This again was included with the Marin model, so this was again only $7. So customizable models can do a lot for you. I use them for fun. They are not my main model. I use them as redeems on my channel. But for someone starting out, having a model that you can customize to make it look how you want to be, especially one that has so much rigging, so much movement for such a low price, is just a great idea to me. This is a really easy, low-cost way to be able to get into VTubing. Let's see, I'm going to switch back to my main one. There we go. I also realized I did not make a slide for this, but I did mention that there are pre-made models. So there are people who will completely design, completely rig, do everything for a character. You don't have a say in what exactly they look like, but it's something you can buy pre-made, so you don't have to wait a long time for it. Because when it comes to VTuber models, it can take a long time to do. For example, I'm currently getting a male version of myself done. I'm currently in the process with the artist. My art probably won't be done until the end of June. And then my rigging will start whenever that's finished, but that could also take another couple months depending on how busy my rigger is at the time. So you kind of have to plan pretty far in advance because a lot of artists and riggers, their books fill up really fast, and it may be months before you can get in with them, which can be kind of frustrating when you're starting out. But that's why pre-made models may be a good route for you. So on Boost, there's pre-made models that you are not allowed to customize. More than one person may be able to buy it, or there's instances where it's a one-off sale. On Twitter, there are a lot of people who will sell pre-made models, or people who are selling off models that they no longer utilize. These are pre-made models that may or may not come with additional art. They may or may not be rigged. It may just be the model itself. It kind of depends on who's selling it and what exactly the price range is. This can be anything from like a couple $100 all the way up to a couple $1,000 because a VTuber model, especially a live 2D one, can get very expensive very fast. But that is just another option. If you don't want to have to think about a design yourself, you could find something you like and just be like, hey, I really like this design. I want to go be this cat girl or this moth girl. And you don't have to think about anything. You just have a VTuber model there ready and waiting for you. Now, if you're like me and you want to have a lot of customization, customizing your models is very important. So I have quite a few options. As you can see to my side, I have some options here. I'll show a couple of them. I like having options. So I have my main VTuber model, which also includes a full lava lamp that completely works because I needed it, because I'm a lava lamp. This would not be made as a pre-made. This would not be made as a customizable. This was a completely custom model that I worked with my artist, I worked with my rigger to design and get the way I wanted it to be. A custom model can be literally anything you want it to be. For me, I wanted it to be a sentient lava lamp. So I worked with them to get exactly what I wanted. This is the most expensive route for becoming a VTuber. Model art can be very expensive. So for example, I bought just the art from anywhere from like $100 all the way up to $900. And that's very cheap. there are a lot of people who've spent $1,500 or more on just the artwork. It really depends on your artist and what all extras you would like to get. For me, I wanted the lava lamp, so that made it a bit more difficult. Recently, I just got just an outfit and hair update, which was, I think, about $500 from my artist now, just because prices fluctuate. As time goes on, artists want to be paid more for their work. They realize just how difficult Live 2D is to have all the little tiny details drawn out, because every single piece of a VTuber has to be drawn separately on a separate layer so that everything can be moved by the rigger. So for me, I wanted to be a lava lamp, so I went the custom route. There's a lot of things you can do with custom. So I can be a lava lamp, I can be a magical girl. Who doesn't enjoy a nice magical girl? But this was done by a different artist and rigger. Sometimes it's easy to switch between them. Let's see. So I have this one specifically for playing Animal Crossing, because I wanted to have something fun for my community when I did Animal Crossing, because I play a lot of Animal Crossing, or at least I did when it came out. But because I got it custom made specifically for me, I could have me in the Animal Crossing style. But these are things to think about. What style do you want it in? Like, this is Animal Crossing. This one is like 90s magical girl. My main one, which is taking a moment. And this is more traditional, like anime style. So what you want can be anything, but you just need to have a general idea of what you want to be. There are a bunch of different artists out there, and they can make your dreams a reality. I worked with my model artists, and it worked very well for me. My first Live 2D, you may see it down there in the bottom left. That was my first Live 2D model down there. It was very simple. It did not have a lot of movement behind it, but I was really happy with it, and it made me really happy to be able to have my first Live 2D. You don't need anything that's too complicated. That's why I always suggest going with PNG or going with like a V-Roid when you're starting out, just so you know exactly what you're getting into. Oh, and like, I didn't talk about it, but I have a cookie model. I don't have it on my Stream Deck, so I can't show you right this second. But it's really cute, and like, you can bite my cookie. There's so much you can do with Live 2D that you wouldn't even think about. Like, I can even, I got my tongue able to stick out, which is fun, and it's different. So you can do a lot of things with Live 2D. You can pretty much do whatever you want, as long as you find an artist and rigger who's willing to do it. Speaking of, these are my artist and rigger for my main model. I have other artists and riggers which I credit on my Twitch, but I figured some of you may be interested in knowing who specifically did my art and who did my rigging. They're also doing my updated outfits. I'm going to have the Gyaru model here soon. Probably in July is when the rigging will be done. The art's been done for a while, but like I said, sometimes you have to wait for your turn and wait for the work to get done, which is why Live 2D can take a long time. That's why I'm already planning out one that I'm planning to have by the end of the year or maybe early next year. But Mama's Office did my artwork and Sky did my rigging. They were great to work with. I think they're both wonderful. I'm currently still working with both of them, obviously, and I love them a lot. They're my model mom and papa. So within VTubing, a mama is the one who does the artwork, and a papa is the one that does the rigging, so you have model parents. So you have a mom and you have a dad. It's just kind of a cute thing that they have within the community that I enjoy. Okay, let me turn on my, so I can hear all of you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Oh, I can hear myself now. But you can ask in the room, or you can ask in Discord.
Yeah, great. Can you hear me okay, first of all? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so first of all, not a question, but I think you were.
Yes, I can. There's a slight delay, okay. I believe.
Okay. That sounds good. So first of all, I think your Live 2D model is a creative. So before you mentioned that you were a lava lamp. I thought like it's some kind of technical monster or something. But onto the question. So when you use any technology like live 2D, where you have to turn on your webcam, are you concerned that the software that you're using is going to do an accidental face reveal? And have you heard any stories where people run into that kind of problem?
So I personally don't use a webcam for my live 2D. I use my iPhone. So pretty much all the facial tracking is done on my iPhone and it goes to my computer. And so I don't feel like that there's an issue or that there's going to be a problem with my face being revealed, just because all of the facial tracking is on a completely different device. And the only thing that's being seen on the screen is coming out of the live 2D program. Because it's two completely different things that are just tied together.
Okay.
I have a question. What can you tell us about the rigging process?
Okay, go ahead with the next question.
Yep, there's a delay, I guess, so if you can type it in Discord too, it'd be great.
Okay, so for rigging, I personally haven't done rigging, but I know it takes a lot of work. I've seen my own rigger do it. It is a very piece-by-piece process. You need a lot of components just to be able to make any single thing work. So like my mouth has a lot of different shapes within it, and each of them have to be rigged separately depending on how my face is moving. So even if it's like, I'm trying to think about how to describe it. So like my eye has like 15, 16 pieces in it, I believe. All of these have to be rigged and moved separately. I think the most common program to use for it is Live2D Cubism to do the rigging.
I have another question.
Yep, go ahead.
What are the top 3 strangest VTuber models you remember seeing?
Oh, the top 3 strangest ones. Other than a lamp, because like I mentioned, I have a friend who is a lamp, which I'm going to say that's one of the strangest ones. Because he is an actual lamp with a lampshade and everything. Lampert is definitely probably one of the strangest ones. I have also seen, there's a VTuber called Savory Nugget, who is a chicken nugget VTuber. Literally a chicken nugget. And for the last one, maybe not the strangest, but Juniper has a horror model that she uses, which is pretty much like a moth cryptid. So it's really cool, but it's also really out there.
Yeah, I also got a question. How does it feel to be a unique, let's say, VTuber, being a llama lamp in your example, as opposed to a traditional anime girl-esque VTuber as others would be? Do you feel as though it makes you more unique in a way, or how does it put you more out there compared to everyone else? As others tend to stray away from the traditional anime-esque VTubing and start to use models in your case the lava lamp, or there was a gorilla VTuber a couple months ago that appeared.
exactly who you're talking about. I would say it puts me at a kind of advantage in a way because a lot of VTubers, unfortunately, will be compared to other VTubers. Like, if you're a cat, then you're manners and things like that, which I don't think are exactly fair. But it does put me at an interesting point because I do not get compared as often to other VTubers just because I am unique. I think it helps me stand out, and people will be like, oh, you're a lava lamp? That's so cool. I haven't seen that before. I personally like lava lamps a lot, which is why I am a lava lamp. I collect them. I have around 30 of them. But I do think that it does put me in a different position than someone if they were just like an anime girl or a cat girl or something like that. I definitely suggest if you're wanting to get into VTubing, doing something that's unique that you haven't seen before can be really beneficial to you.
And a follow-up question to that, since you were just talking about your attraction to lava lamps, what makes you so attracted to lava lamps, and why do you like collect them in a sense? Like, is it some sort of hobby, or is it some sort of fascination that you enjoy about them? Or?
I just think they're pretty and they're fun to watch. And I mean, they're really nice to have on the wall just to be able to see at night. Because they're like, you know, nice and glowing and pretty. It's pretty much like someone collects knickknacks. I collect lava lamps.
Okay, I have one question. Is it possible to like have some kind of facial recognition lock to keep others from like hijacking your model in like one of those off collabs? Because I've seen the clips where some VTubers hijack their friend's model as a joke. I'm just curious if there's any like facial lock or recognition technology to keep it locked onto your face only for access.
Well, I haven't actually heard of that happening. I've heard of VTubers exchanging their models to do things like that, just have kind of like an April Fool's joke. But I haven't heard about anyone like hijacking a model like that, because to be able to do so, you would need, at the bare minimum, the PSD file to have re-rigged or the fully rigged model. As far as I know, that there's not like facial tracking that can lock out other people, but as long as you keep your PSD and your rigging file safe, you don't go spreading it around on the computer, you don't give it to your friends, then there should be a way for someone to take that. But like I said, if you give out your PSD that has like your flat layout of all your pieces, someone could potentially make you again. I personally haven't done anything like that. I haven't given my model out to anyone. It's something that's just for me. I keep it for myself. Pretty much just, it'd be like a trade secret. You kind of keep everything to yourself like that just to keep it nice and safe. Are there any more questions?
Okay, I have a follow-up then to that. My first question. During an off collab, I saw two of Nichi Sanji's VTubers like doing a drinking stream. One went to go off to the bathroom to do something, and then the other one basically sort of jumped over into her friend's character model and just as a joke just started talking about herself in a joking manner. That's because of kind of a hijacking I was talking about. Like, can anyone just like do that in the same room? For that kind of hijacking? Or I was kind of asking if was there a way to block out that kind of hijacking?
Well, in the case of Ninja Sanji, I believe that they may that may have just been something between them that they agreed upon, just because VTuber groups do tend to use other programs than like someone who's an indie like myself may utilize. Like for example, a lot of indie VTubers use a program called OBS Ninja, while some higher levels will use a program called ping.gg, which I actually believe is there this weekend at OffKai Expo. But they may have also proprietary software that they use that I do not know about. So I'm not exactly sure exactly how that happened in that situation, but just doing a collab with your friends would not result in your model getting hijacked in that way. So that may just be something that they planned or something that is possible within the programming that they use.
I think he was talking about not stealing the model, rather, getting in front of the other talent's setup, and having the camera track them instead of the original person.
Again, I haven't personally seen that happen because, at least for me, when I do collabs, I'm in a room by myself. There's no one else here for the camera to facially track. I'm not sure if that's the case for Nijisanji or other groups, but as long as you don't have anyone in the room with you, your camera can't pick up anyone else to facially track.
Yeah, I've got another question. What do you think is the biggest hurdle that you've had to cross when debuting as like an indie VTuber model as yourself?
Well, I'd say the hardest thing is getting started. A lot of people view VTubing as a sprint rather than a marathon. When it is a marathon, a lot of people want everything all at once, but getting things over time can make it a lot easier. So like, for my example, I started as a PNG tuber, went to 3D, and then became a live 2D model. It's really hard to have all the assets and all the things that you want just because of how expensive VTubing can be. And when you do it as an indie, you don't have all the resources that you may have as being part of a corporation. Well, if there's no more questions, I'm fine with ending this panel here. I will say that I'm going to be having another panel tomorrow at, I believe, 9:45 p.m. It is going to be called, What is a Vtuber and How Do I Become One? So if you are interested in an 18+ stream, I will be doing that tomorrow, I believe in panel room 1 as well.
Thank you, Ava.
Thank you.